Do you have a not so perfect life? I mean, we may look like we have it all together, but the truth is we all have stuff. UNbroken provides a brave space where we women can take off the mask, share our secret struggles, and our secrets to success. UNbroken, doing life better together. Because I'm happy, and now I'm annoying to you. Oh, yes, that's right. Today we are going to be talking about how to get happy. Now, before you think, what, how to get happy, this sounds a little corny. I'm the one that is corny. The topic isn't corny. Let me ask you. Last week we talked about quirks, and I shared some of my funny quirks with you. But I also have some quirks that are not so funny. So can I be real with you for a minute? One of my quirks that's actually caused lots of problems in my marriage is that my brain is always solving problems. Now, you may think that it's good to be a problem solver. But in reality, if your spouse is always pointing out what's wrong, do you think that would be a happy marriage? So, if you're thinking about your quirks, those things that make you unique, I would encourage us to think about how we can turn those quirks that are potentially weaknesses into strengths. So for me, I have realized that I need to be doing consulting and strategy because that helps me be able to use my gift of problem solving in a healthy way and not on my husband. All right. So that's what we talked about last week on UNbroken. This week, we are going to be talking about happiness, but I'm not talking the superficial smile happy. No, I'm talking about like joy. There is like a spring in your step. Your heart is literally exploding with happiness. And some of you out there may be like, Janeé, I don't know if I've ever felt that happiness, and I'm sure not feeling it right now. And I'm going to give you some suggestions too. You may be wondering who I am. I'm Janeé. I love Jesus, and I am married to Randy. We are a blended family with 4 kiddos. And career-wise, I've done a lot of different things. But my main heart is seeing us be our best. And part of the way we do that is by owning our greatness. And that's why we're doing this 6 sessions to self, to where at the end of these 6 sessions, we are going to be able to be pretty proud of the women that we are. I mentioned that today's topic is happy. Now, I got to tell you that I have been through a lot of things in my life. And there was a lot of times when I was not so happy. I mean, sure, on the outside, you might have thought that I was happy. For example, there was a time when I had a great career at Southwest Airlines, doing leadership development, performance analysis. I worked with an incredible team. And yet, at night, I went home and tried to drink myself to death. Why? Because I didn't know my purpose. And the second part of that is I really wasn't in my happy spot. Years ago, we had the opportunity to partner with an organization called Live Happy. And we showed up at a restaurant with this big Live Happy background. And we would do Post-it notes and encourage the customers in this restaurant to talk about how they lived happy. And I will tell you that it surprised me how many people had to really think about what makes them happy. So today, I just want to give us a couple of simple strategies for living a happy life. And the first one is know what fills your heart. When I was a little girl, I got my first microphone at the age of 5. I was happy. And I remember hours of singing into my microphone in the game room. Now, I am not a great singer. I do love it, but I'm not very good at it. But for me, it didn't matter. That was my happy spot. So what is your happy spot? I also remember growing up, I loved being on stage. Now that's really funny because I had zero self-esteem and self-confidence growing up. But for some reason, I didn't let that stop me. I could get on stage with 1,000 people. That's probably a quirk, but it was my happy spot. Now that I'm older, what makes me happy? I find so much joy being with family. I have our youngest one is 8, and that's a super fun age. So that certainly fills my heart with joy. But I've also found that just doing the simple things, being outdoors, it feeds my soul. And here's what happens. When we find our happy spot, it helps us to deal with the not so happy spots. So I mentioned that last year, it was worst year of my life, and I've had a couple of doozies, and it was really hard to find a happy spot. Yet, when I went and I love to mentor women and girls, and when I would mentor women and girls, that was just my heartbeat. My heart exploded regardless of what I had going on personally. So what are those things that make you happy? Now, I want to speak to those of you who are maybe like me. You've been through a lot, or you're going through a lot, and it's really hard to be happy. If we are looking for happiness in external circumstances, so the perfect job, the perfect marriage, the perfect career, the perfect schools, we are always going to be unhappy. When I say do what brings you joy, I'm talking about the fact that you have to make a choice to get out there, to do something that feeds your soul. You can't wait for life to bring you happiness and joy. Sometimes you just have to create it. I remember a couple years ago, we had been to this retreat, this marriage retreat, and it was in Mobile, Alabama. And unbeknownst to me, there were no bathrooms in the cabin where we stayed. And I thought it was a huge joke because I didn't know that until we showed up. And I jokingly said to the lady who'd recommended it, "Did you not tell me this on purpose?" Because I would not go to a cabin where there's no potty and I have to walk outside. So that retreat was good, but it wasn't really my happy place. So when we were on the plane to come back, or in the airport, I couldn't wait to get back to my own bathroom, my own shower. Oh, praise the Lord for your own shower. But in the airport, we were delayed 5 hours and not even sure if we were going to get out of the airport that night. So my friend Kim and I, we were in the airport, and we were both like, you know what? We need a happy moment. So what did we do? We stood up in the airport, totally did a happy dance. Everyone was thinking we were absolutely nuts, but we started laughing. We just started having so much joy. And guess what? Other people around us did too. So that's an example of when we created happiness. We created some fun. Now, for those of you who are like, Janeé, you just don't understand. Literally, I have social anxiety. I can't get out of my house, or I'm really struggling with a number of issues. There's no way I can create happiness. Well, then you might have to find it. I remember years ago, I had rededicated my life to Christ in 2007. And that's important because remember, prior to that, I wasn't really happy. And now when I rededicated my life to Christ, I wasn't, I'm immediately happy. No, that did not happen. In fact, life got much harder, but we'll talk about that another day. But I started thinking, the things that sort of made me happy on the surface before, they were different. They weren't filling me anymore. And I remember sitting on the floor by myself in my apartment and just flipping through magazines. And I had a big piece of poster board. and I would rip out anything that kind of inspired me, and I would post it to the poster board. And before you knew it, I had filled this poster board with a bunch of things that I was really interested in. Now, I couldn't do all of those things at once, but I slowly began checking some things off the boxes. I had put a golden retriever on my poster board. I'd ripped a picture out of the magazine and put it on my vision board, my poster board. And before I knew it, I couldn't get a dog at the time. I wasn't in a place to take care of any animal. However, I could volunteer at the Humane Society. And so that's what I did. So think about some ways that you can find those things that bring you joy. Find some things that make you happy. Well, that you're going to create happiness with. And the last thing is, we're talking about happiness today. Life is going to be hard. Spoiler alert. And for those people who go around like everything is okay all the time, that is just not reality. And I know that for me, when I look at other people's social media, I might think, gosh, they really have a happy, great life. But just a reminder, our social media channels, those are the highlight reels. Those are the good times. Very few people, except me, and you can look at my feed, Real Janeé Hill, very few people tell you what's going on when you're crying and you look horrible. But I have done that, by the way. You can check it out on my social media. But very few people are not going to show you the underbelly of life. And so I just want you to know you are not alone. This year, when we started working, we actually started working on UNbroken last year. But I continued to see a need for we women to support one another, lock arms, see each other through good and bad. If you're in a rough spot, get a hand up, much different than a hand out. But let's come alongside you and help you find your happiness. I'll close with this. I had the privilege of attending a fantastic retreat. I've been blessed to attend many, but one of these retreats was in California. And there was a girl who had just been through so much, like literally a movie, that much. And because of what she had been through, this is going to sound crazy, she had never bought herself anything, nothing. So you know what we did, the girls on the retreat? We were like, we are going shopping and you're going to buy and we're going to cheer you on. And I believe that that is what life is supposed to be about. Cheering one another on, helping each other be our personal best. And that's why UNbroken. You can check out theunbroken.org. So today we've talked about those things that fill your heart with joy. We've talked about ways that if you don't know what those things are, pull out a magazine, scroll through it, see what inspires you, or get out some paint. Painting is a great way to kind of let your creative juices flow. And then look for moments to create happiness. So here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. Actually, us. I will do it too. I want you to look for a way to create your happiness and post it on social media and tag Real Janeé Hill. That's Real, Janee, Hill. And you can also tag Unbroken Women of Faith, because I would love to see us creating happiness across social media. So shoot me your stories, send us your pics. I can't wait to see how you are creating happiness. And by the way, next week, we're talking about dun, 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 mistakes. Ooh. And how our mistakes, our mess, our bitterness, they can actually make us better and become our message. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for tuning in today. And if you like what you're hearing or you think a friend would benefit, please share it. That is the way we can be women helping women.